Hello and welcome to Brick Speak. I'm your host, Brigadier Rakesh Bhatia. In today's episode, we will understand the Syrian conflict and also look into its aftermath. As Syria enters a new phase with the fall of Bashar al Assad's regime, we will explore what this means for the country, its people, and the broader Middle East. As you see on the map, Syria is located at the crossroads of the Middle East, bordered by Turkey to the north, Iraq to the east, Jordan and Israel to the south, and Lebanon to the west. Its geographical position has made it a critical player in the region, both historically and in the context of ongoing conflict. Over the past decade, Syria has been at the center of regional struggle for influence as various local, regional, and international actors have become involved. From the rise of Islamist extremism to shifting alliances between global powers, Syria's fate has reverberated far beyond its borders. In this episode, we will examine the players in Syria's civil war, the international stakes, and what happens now that Assad's regime has collapsed. With foreign powers like Russia, the United States, Turkey, and Iran heavily invested in the conflict, Syria has become a epitome of the larger geopolitical struggle in the Middle East. Syria's importance in the Middle East cannot be overstated. Geographically, it sits in a key location linking the Arab world to the Mediterranean and serving as a borderland between rival powers from the US and its allies to Russia and Iran. Over the past decade, Syria has been at the heart of several regional struggles. Iran. Iran has long backed the Assad regime, seeing Syria as a crucial part of its axis of resistance against Israel and Sunni Arab states, particularly Saudi Arabia. Iran's influence in Syria allows it to maintain a strategic corridor to Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is a significant force in its confrontation with Israel. Russia. For Russia, Syria has been a vital ally. The Russian government has used its military presence in Syria to project power in Middle East and to secure its only naval base in the Mediterranean. Russia's military intervention in 2015 was a turning point, helping Assad regain control of much of the country. Russia also sees its influence in Syria as part of its broader geopolitical competition with the West, particularly the US. The United States. The US has been deeply involved in Syria, supporting Kurdish and Arab forces in the fight against ISIS, and playing a key role in the defeat of so-called Islamic State's caliphate. The US has also sought to limit Iran's influence in the region, making Syria a battleground for broader regional dynamics. However, the US has been reluctant to engage more directly in the civil war or get involved in Syria's post-Assad future. Turkey. Turkey's involvement has been driven by its desire to counter Kurdish forces in northern Syria, particularly the Syrian Democratic Forces, or better known as SDF, which are linked to the PKK, a Kurdish separatist group that Turkey considers a terrorist organization. Turkey has supported rebel groups in northwest and has created safe zones along the Turkish-Syrian border. Turkey's role is crucial in shaping Syria's post-Assad future, especially in the northwest, and managing the millions of Syrian refugees it has hosted. The Arab world. Syria's relation with its Arab neighbors have been complicated. The conflict has drawn in countries like Saudi Arabia, which supported opposition groups seeking to oust Assad, and Jordan, which has been involved in southern Syria, While some Arab countries are slowly re engaging with Syria, the broader Arab world remains divided over the fate of Assad and Syria's future. The Middle East is a region where alliances can shift rapidly, and Syria's civil war has been an example of the same. It has witnessed power struggles, sectarian divides, and geopolitical ambitions that define the region. In this episode ahead, we will now take a closer look at the main factions in Syria's civil war, the role of foreign powers, and the challenges ahead as the country enters this new chapter. The fall of Bashar al Assad marks the end of one era, but it opens the door to new questions about Syria's future and about the region as a whole. We will break down the key players in the Syrian conflict, their goals, and the implication of Assad's fall. Let's see in detail which are the major factions that have shaped Syria's war and what they might mean for the country's future. The events that unfolded on 8th December was swift and shocking. Rebels arrived in Damascus from multiple directions. Fighters from south were the first to reach the capital, followed by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or known as HTS, a former Al-Qaeda affiliate which has taken the lead in pushing against Assad's regime in recent weeks. The rapid fall of Assad's forces left them fleeing, leaving behind abandoned army posts and torn propaganda posters. Within days, Assad fled to Moscow, ending over 50 years of his family's authoritarian rule. The key players: Hayat Tahrir al-Shams, led by Abu Muhammad al-Jolani. HTS is a powerful Islamist group rooted in Salafism, an ultra-conservative interpretation of Islam. Though once an affiliate of Al-Qaeda, HTS broke away HTS broke away in 2017 and has since distanced itself from jihadism, presenting itself as a nationalist group. It controls part of northwestern Syria, particularly Idlib province, and has governed the area through the Syrian Salvation Government. HTS has promised to protect Syria's minorities and avoid imposing strict Sharia codes. But its past ties to Al Qaeda and its heavy handed rule make it a controversial figure. The West, including the United States and the UN, still classifies HTS as a terrorist organization. Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF. The SDF is a Kurdish led coalition backed by the United States and controls a large portion of Syria, particularly in the north and east. It includes not just Kurds, but also Arabs and Christians. The SDF's military wing, the People's Protection Units, or YPJ, has been crucial in fighting ISIS in the region. However, their ties to the Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, make them a target for Turkey, which sees them as a threat to its own security. Despite the SDF's significant military success against ISIS, it now faces growing tensions with other rebel factions, particularly the Turkish backed Syrian National Army, SNA, which has been challenging the SDF's hold over northern Syria. Syrian National Army, the SNA, formed with Turkish support, is a coalition of mostly Sunni rebel groups that have long opposed Assad's rule. Though initially composed of defected Syrian military officers and former opposition fighters, the SNA is heavily influenced by Turkish goals, particularly in its fight against the SDF. The SNA has managed to carve out safe zones along the Turkish border where Syrian refugees are being repatriated. However, its actions are often criticized for prioritizing Turkey's interest over the well being of Syrians and it now faces growing friction with HTS and other rebel factions. In the south, particularly around the city of Dara, a mix of Druze, Christians, and Alawite rebel group has made significant gains. These groups, backed by Jordan, have often fought each other in the past but are now against Assad's regime. Their future role in Syria's reconstruction is uncertain, but they are an important player in the power struggle that are unfolding. Islamic State. While ISIS has been largely defeated in Syria, the collapse of Assad's regime could provide opportunities for the group to regroup and revive its operations. With many ISIS fighters still imprisoned by the SDF, instability in the country could lead to their escape or release, posing a renewed threat to Syria and its neighbors. With Assad gone, Syria faces the monumental task of forming a new government and rebuilding its shattered infrastructure. However, the divisions among the various rebel factions, each with its own agenda and vision for Syria's future, make this a complicated endeavor. The northwest is dominated by HTS, the northeast by the Kurds, and the south by rebel factions with ties to Jordan. The rebels have made early efforts to ensure stability in Damascus. Curfews have been imposed, and civilian authorities have been urged to stay in their positions to maintain order. There is even talk of forming a unity government that includes all factions. However, given the history of infighting among these groups, skepticism remains high. Can they put aside their differences and work together for the greater good of Syria, or will the country fall back into the same chaos and civil war that has defined the past 13 years? The strongest contender for the leadership is Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, head of HTS, who has distanced himself from his past as an Al-Qaeda affiliate, and he has even spoken of a future Syria that protects all of its religious and ethnic groups. Yet, his brutal track record and his links to extremist elements make him a controversial figure, and not all rebels are willing to accept his leadership. The involvement of foreign powers adds another layer to complexity. While Russia and Iran have retreated from the spotlight, following Assad's fall, the United States, Turkey, and Israel all have significant interest in Syria. The US, in particular, has been focused on its alliance with the Kurds, and its involvement will be critical in shaping the future of Northeast. Meanwhile, Israel's ongoing strikes show that foreign powers will not hesitate to act in their own interest. In the end, this is the compilation of various rebel groups and non-state actors. Which is the country which is supporting them? What is the type of support provided? What is the ideology of that particular group? And whom are they operating against and why? I'll request you to spend some time on this and the following slide, which summarizes most of the rebel groups which are active as of now, and you must know headings that I have covered in these tables. It talks about both the Shia and the Sunni Muslims and the countries which are supporting it. With this, I come to the end of today's episode. We have to continuously look at Syria, how Assad's fall is a significant but uncertain milestone. What would be the future path? And will Syria achieve peace or face further fragmentation? In the run up to your examination, we will once again revisit this chapter. Till such time, take care, keep working hard, all the best, and Jai Hind.